Tomorrow is National Coffee Day. Do you have yours right now? Lots of people are celebrating, including the Roastery, and that's why Simeon Bricker is a master barista with the Roastery. He's here this morning to help us become a barista of our own household. This is very exciting because sometimes I don't make that great of coffee, Simeon. You got to help me out here.
Well, that's difficult to do at home.
Okay.
A lot of the times people will wonder, why can't I get the cafe quality at home?
Right.
When you're using a home dripper machine, typically the problem that you're having is that you're just not getting the water hot enough.
Okay.
And so those machines, they're just not designed to go to the temperatures that you need, usually about 195 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit.
That's hot.
So using manual brewing methods is one way to get that cafe quality coffee at home.
I've seen this and it scares me a little bit. Is this a French press?
This is the French press, and the French press is actually very approachable.
Okay.
It's a really easy brewing method for home. It's really a hands-off method. So we call it a full immersion brewing method. And the idea is, rather than using a technique to stir and agitate the coffee, we're really just going to soak the flavor straight out of the coffee.
Do we get to see how this one works today?
Absolutely, we can do it.
Let's look at it. Yeah, let's go for a French press.
So the things that you're going to want to know for brewing any type of coffee, you're going to need temperature, like I already mentioned.
Yeah.
About 200 degrees is going to be ideal.
Okay.
You're going to need a grind setting for your coffee. And in this case, we're using a very coarse grind. So typically a home dripper is going to be medium, what we described.
You already ground them up, didn't you?
I have these pre-ground, yeah. And so this is a coarse grind setting, as coarse as we can get them.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to need time. So having a timer at home is one way that we can keep this really consistent. We're going to set it for 4 minutes, which we think is going to be kind of ideal for the French press. And it's going to be across the board there.
Okay.
And the last thing we're going to need is kind of a brewing ratio. With French press, it's really simple. I describe it as a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every ounce of water that I'm going to use 2 grams of coffee.
Okay.
What makes this really easy is if you just buy an electric scale for at home. This kitchen scale will measure that out for you. It'll keep the consistency from cup to cup tasting great.
Okay.
Okay. So for temperature-wise, I've got my hot water here. But one thing I want to be careful of is to preheat every brewing apparatus. Because temperature, like I mentioned, is really what's making the difference from the cafe to the cup.
Okay, so you don't want the glass to be not ready for all the hot water and stuff. Okay.
It's really quite amazing just to see. I've done some tests recently on how much temperature is lost or how much heat is lost just by filling this up. And if it's not preheated, you can actually lower the temperature of the water 15 to 20 degrees.
That makes sense.
Which will put us a lot lower.
We don't have too much time left, but show us just how to get this started.
All right, so we're just going to add coffee to the bottom of the container.
Okay, okay.
And then I'm going to tear it off on my scale. As I add water, I'm just going to start my timer. And really what we're trying to do is avoid agitation with the coffee. You
got to be gentle. Coffee's a fragile girl here.
And like I said, with this full immersion brewing method, we're really trying to soak out the flavor. So we really want to avoid agitating because sometimes you can pull that solubles from the outside of the coffee grounds.
Okay.
And that's not what we're trying to do here. We're really trying to open up the grounds and just really soak out the flavor. And this is going to give it more of a full body flavor.
And do we just let it sit from here for 4 minutes?
No, what we're going to do is, actually, it's going through a process known as turbulence. And so there's gases that are being released by the coffees that are buoying up those coffee grounds. And so we want to break those up, and then we want to just submerge the coffee just below the surface and let it sit for the remainder of the time.
So we're going to check back in when it's done. So get us set for the 4 minutes. Get that started for us before we go to Michelle, because she's standing by with weather. But yeah, show us how you get it ready. You just let it sit like this?
Yeah, actually, we're just going to break up that crust there. And we can do that using a spoon or a knife, or we can just kind of tap it on the counter just like that. And just submerge it just below the surface of the water there, and just let it sit.
Okay, we're going to check back on the French press. So, Michelle, doesn't it smell good in here? Don't you want